Hey guys, Joe from the Crazy New York Driver Show. It's Friday night, February 28th, 2014. And it is 14 degrees out, guys. You heard me right, 14 degrees. It's freezing. Been freezing all week. We have another foot of snow coming either Sunday night or into Monday. Another foot of snow, and we still haven't gotten rid of what we had last week. This is the winter that'll never end. But enough about that. Welcome to another eBay video. I would like to thank about 1,100 people who watched last week's video about eBay unreasonable buyers. Let me tell you what we're going to talk about today. Today we're going to talk a lot about your concerns that you expressed to me from last week's video. We're going to talk about some of your unreasonable eBay buyers, what we can do about it, what eBay can do about it. I'm going to tell you some stories that happened to me in the last week. A bunch of crazy stuff happened. And a few other little goodies I'm going to throw in as well. And we're going to start off with something a little not eBay related, but I've had quite a few requests from you good people to see my dog Molly. You haven't seen Molly in a while, so before I jump into the eBay video, here's a quick look at Molly that I filmed earlier this morning. Alright guys, quite a few people have asked to see my dog Molly because you haven't seen her in a while. And this is Molly. She's now a year and a half. She's very good looking. She's very loving. She loves to run and play in the backyard. And we had her to the vet yesterday, and she's in perfect health. This is Molly. She's a little beagle, and she's going to say hi to all of you, and she's going to wave. Right? Bye. Bye-bye, Molly. Say goodbye to the folks. Bye-bye. Bye-bye, people. Okay, guys. I hope you enjoyed a look at my good little beagle named Molly. There is nothing better than a lovable beagle. Okay? I think you guys know that. But let us now get started with the eBay section of the video. Last week we talked about unreasonable eBay buyers. I told you some of my cases and you guys related some of your experiences and they were really good. I especially enjoyed the detailed stories that you guys typed in where you actually tell what happened to you and what your buyer did to you and how he violated eBay rules if he in fact did. So we're going to talk about that now. First, let me tell you what happened to me and the kind of unreasonable bidders I get. Now, as you know, I take returns for 14 days, no questions asked. Since I have spoken to you, I have gotten, in 1 week, 4 people, all right? All 4 did not read the listing. 3 out of the 4 bid on items that were the wrong size, where I clearly have the size listed, okay? Now, that in itself does not bother me. I accept that. It's the cost of doing business, all right? My complaint is, of those 3 people, only one of them contacted me through eBay the way he's supposed to and said, listen, these are the wrong size, I want to return them. I have no problem with that guy. Even though he was too lazy to go outside and measure his rim, all right? At least he did it the right way through eBay. So that's good. Now, the other 2 people, both of them called me directly on the phone, and I hate that. I despise it. For the simple reason that these bidders could demand anything they want, they could threaten me in any way they want, and there's no way I can prove it to eBay. For instance, they could say to me, Joe, I want to keep the item and I want you to give my money back, or I'll leave you negative feedback. How could I prove that to eBay? I can't. I just can't. There's no way to. That is why it's so imperative all contact must stay through the eBay contact system. And I told both these guys, I said, listen, I have no problem giving you a refund, but you have to do it through eBay. And one of them had no experience with eBay whatsoever, and the other guy started to get darn right ornery about it. He said, well, these are too big. I said, sir, the auction clearly has the size listed. Did you measure your wheel? No, he says to me, I didn't measure it. I said, all right, tell me this. Tell me what size you need. Would you want me to exchange them for you? He said, yes. I said, okay, great. Just tell me what size you want. He says, I have no idea. He goes, I'm driving. He's calling me while he's driving. I have no problem working it out. None whatsoever. But it's got to be through the eBay contact system. The other guy that bid on my items, I wanted to return them, says to me, they're the wrong size. I said, well, did you read in the listing the size? He says, oh yes, I saw it, but they looked bigger in the picture. Can you believe this? When I clearly state the size, he says to me they looked bigger in the picture. And what do all these three guys have in common? They're all cheap items. That's one thing everybody seems to agree upon, is that the cheap items, the cheaper the item, the more problems they cause. And I definitely agree with you guys there. All cheap items. However, to be fair, none of the three people seem to be really nasty or threaten me in any way. So I'm really not too concerned about that. I do realize mistakes happen. And one of my subscribers last week left a comment. Basically, when somebody contacts him through eBay and they give him a little lip about an item not as described, he always steps back and he takes a breath. And that's something I've been trying to do for the last few months, because I do have a little bit of an Italian temper. I admit that. So when someone contacts me, even if they get out of line or give me lip, I don't even answer them. I stop. I wait an hour or two and I think it through. In some cases, like last week, I jump onto Facebook and I put the question out to my guys in the Facebook groups. What do you suggest? What's your opinion? That kind of thing. My fourth return of the week, where a person didn't read the listing, is the only one of the four that pisses me off greatly. It pisses me off so much that I have dropped a link below to the exact item. You'll see a link. What I'd like you guys to do now is click on it right this second, and it will open up a second browser window, and you can look at the auction as I describe it to you. Do that now, please. You'll see that it's for a Dodge Charger Hubcap. The title clearly says Hubcap, singular. There is one hubcap in the picture. If you scroll down and read the listing, it clearly says you are bidding on one hubcap, but you can buy more if you want to. The price of the hubcap is $39.95 with free shipping. It seems cut and dry, right? So I had somebody buy one the other day, right around when I made the last video, and they paid right away. I shipped it to them, and they committed every possible infraction in the book. How can a person, any reasonable person, think, given what you just saw in that auction, how can somebody think they are getting 4 hubcaps with free shipping, 4 factory bolt-on 17-inch hubcaps for $39.95? Somebody did. And the icing on the cake, they contacted me off eBay. Unbelievable. This, in my opinion, is a serious problem. And you know what surprises me, guys? I don't think it happens that much to you. I think this is a problem that seems to be concentrated with eBay Motors. I would like any of you guys right now who are having problems or who have had a problem with a buyer who bid on one of your items and thought he was getting more, I would like you to comment your story below, please. Because I really think I'm the only one that it's happening to, because I'm an eBay Motors seller. But I'd really love to hear from some of you guys and tell me if it's happening to you as well. Also, you've all looked at the auction that I just asked you to check out. Can any of you see anything wrong with that auction that would lead you to believe it was for 4 items? Lastly, do any of you guys have any suggestions what eBay can do to rectify this fallacy? I think eBay should institute a clause saying that if it's for 1 item and the buyer gets it and he made a mistake, that it's his problem. Now, I do take returns. I have a 14-day return policy, no questions asked. But like I've said before, my return policy means nothing. And guys, your return policy means nothing too. Because a buyer can return it up to 30 days if he opens a claim with eBay, and up to 45 days if he opens a claim with PayPal. Most everything on eBay is laid out in black and white, but there are some gray areas, and this is one of them. There is no set return policy on eBay. Like I said, you got a seller who takes returns within 14 days. eBay says it's 30 days. PayPal says it's 45 days. Who's right? Go figure. I've had a few of you people write in last week and say that you had people return things because the person bid on the wrong size item or the wrong color. And yes, mistakes do happen, like my 3 guys earlier in the week. And I have no problem taking returns, but I don't think the person should be able to neg us if it's their fault, if they bid on the wrong size, right? Also, if a person writes to us and says, I want to return the item, then they want to return it. We don't have a say. However, you know what's really weird, and a couple of you wrote in about this? We, as the seller, still have to contact the buyer and ask them to cancel the transaction that they, in fact, wanted to cancel from the get-go. Isn't that weird? The person buys the wrong item, they screw up, they get the wrong size, they contact us and they say, all right, I want to return the item. Fine. That's their privilege. But why do we, as a seller, still have to contact them? I think the buyer who makes the mistake or is unhappy with the goods should be the one to contact the seller and say, let's cancel a transaction, I want to return the item. Am I right or am I wrong? I think it would streamline the whole process. Next up, negative feedback. Several people commented that they would like to see buyers be able to leave negative feedback for sellers. I would love that. I totally agree with you guys, but I want to tell you 2 things. In a recent eBay webinar, one of the eBay employees went on camera and said that will never happen. eBay will never allow it again. And the reason he gave was because there were some sellers that were abusing the privilege. Like they would sell an item, and maybe the item was a knockoff or a junky repro, garbage, where they actually were at fault and they hurt the buyer. And the buyer negged them, and the seller turned around and negged them back, which is wrong. But I've come up with a way that's foolproof. I'd love to see eBay implement this. We've talked about it for months. All right? If a person bids on your item or does a buy it now and doesn't pay you, they should receive an automatic negative feedback, either from the seller or from eBay. Conversely, if a bidder bids on your item, does a buy it now, and does pay you, gets the item, and then there's a problem, he should be protected because he did the right thing and he paid. Right? I mean, that takes all the guesswork out of it and no one's going to lose. What do you guys think about that? I've been having quite a few potential buyers contact me, offering me substantially less money than my item is. I had one the other day. Get this. A guy writes to me on an item that's $150, and he says to me, the best I can go is $100. So I wrote back to him nicely. I said, I'm sorry, I can't sell it for $100. I said, the reason I can't sell it is because, number one, I'm offering free shipping. That's going to cost about $30 right there. Number two, I have to pay eBay fees and PayPal fees. I said, if you were a local customer and you walked in here, I could dicker with you a little bit, but not on eBay. You would think that would resolve the problem. He writes to me a few minutes later, all right, how about $110? Can't do it. Just can't do it. You know, eBay fees aren't cheap. Most of you guys know that. I don't come out here and ever really complain about the eBay fees or the PayPal fees because I take them into account when I list my items. But when people want us to chop to the bare bones, you know, you just can't. You can't do it and make a living at the same time. Now, I had a couple of people write in about a problem with printing shipping labels. When the buyer's address is really long, you will receive an error message. That is true. It's happened to me, and it's been an ongoing problem for a long time. Why eBay has never fixed this, I don't know. But it is, in fact, a problem. How do you get around it? What I did, the only thing I could figure out at the time was I just manually printed out his label without doing it through eBay. I did it myself, and I took it to the post office and I entered the tracking number in manually. I mean, it still shows up as you know, being shipped with the tracking number. But I had to pay a little more money. I didn't get my little discount that I so love, and that you guys so love too. But really and truthfully, eBay does need to check into that. There is a problem when your buyer's address is extremely long. And it's been an ongoing problem, and they haven't lifted finger one to fix it. I don't know why. I'm just looking at my little cheat sheet here, guys, so list a few fine points I want to discuss. Returns. Back to returns again. I have never gotten the amount of returns I've gotten in the last year. You know? And again, the way I look at it, is it annoying? To a point. But it's just part of doing business. You have to deal with it. Sometimes people bid on the wrong size. Yeah, it happens, you know, no biggie. I guess it really depends on the cost of the item and the cost of shipping. 99.9% of my returns are under $30. So the shipping is always very inexpensive. It's never been an issue. I've never had an expensive return. But what several people stated, and I agree with them, is that if a buyer is going to return something, he should contact you through eBay. How many of you guys have had an item sent back to you where the bidder never contacted you in any way to tell you he was sending it back? Well, it's happened to me. Happened to me 3 or 4 times in the last year. You know, one of the problems, and we've talked about this, eBay loves the iPhone. Okay? eBay loves touting eBay Mobile. Now, a lot of people who bid on my items and want to return them have told me that they use eBay Mobile. Here's a case in point that happened to me recently. A guy calls me and says, hey, you sent me an item from eBay, but you didn't send me the item in your picture. You sent me something else and it's wrong. I said, well, what was the invoice number and all this? And he tells me, I look it up. I said, I did send you that. He says, no, you didn't. I said, are you online now? He says, yes, I'm at my desk. I said, all right, let's do this together. I want you to go to the item and I want you to look at it. So he goes to the item, he looks at it, and he says, oh, wow. You did send the correct item. But that's not what I need. I need, and he tells me what it is. It's something else that I'm not even selling. I said, sir, I don't even sell that. And then he says, I know what happened. He goes, I saw your item first. I looked at it. Then I went on to someone else's item. He's using his iPhone when he did this. When he found the other seller's item, it was what he wanted, but it was more money. So he decided to go back to my item thinking it was the same. He made a mistake, basically, and he bought my item. But my point is, he was so sure that I screwed up when it was him that screwed up. And I've been having this with the iPhone. More and more. Have any of you guys noticed a disproportionate number of your returns were purchased on the iPhone? Think about that, because I have. I myself use the eBay mobile app to communicate with bidders when they ask me a question, to see what's sold, things like that. But I don't use it, I don't go to the diner and sit in the diner and decide to see what's on eBay that I can buy. No. If someone has a question and I'm in the diner, then yes, I'll answer him from the diner. Or, if I get the message that something's sold, okay, I'll check to see what it is so I know what has to be shipped. But that's just me. Well, alright. This is going to go up late as it is. It's now 6 o'clock. 6 o'clock. By the time I get this up, it's probably going to be about 8. So guys, for the foreseeable future, I think my videos are going to be going up around this time on Friday nights. Because as you know, we got some issues going on with the weather, and I've been very busy lately. But, like I tell you each and every week, I'm Crazy New York Driver, and you're not. Thanks for watching. Thanks for being a great audience. Comment, comment, comment. That's very important. Last week's comments were great. They were in-depth and they were descriptive, and a lot of good material was gleaned from them. If you have any questions, you can just leave a comment, or you can even contact me directly. Thanks for watching. I will see you next Friday night, right here on the Crazy New York Driver Show. Rock on, guys.